Due to the effects of climate change from CO2 emissions throughout the world, the flood events and drought periods have become more extreme within the country of Sri Lanka. So today, we will look at the historic flooding events and drought periods in Sri Lanka. Starting with the destructive flooding events over time, there are many significant floods in Sri Lanka, originating mainly from monsoons, especially now within the past decade as a result of climate change. Looking at the flood events in May of 2016, 2017, and May to June of 2021, with the exception of 2021, over 100 people have died from these recent flooding events, and hundreds of thousands of people are having to abandon their damaged homes and relocate. These extreme floods are a result of climate change, with the changes in precipitation patterns, along with mixing with land and mudslides. The flooding events in Sri Lanka are causing major damages. And looking at these images, the middle image is showing how it mixes with the mud and landslides. And then the top image here shows the damage that the flooding events have on these communities. And then the bottom image here shows the people of Sri Lanka actually interacting and dealing with the flooding. Now looking at the severe and prolonged drought periods that Sri Lanka experiences, one of the major droughts was during the years 2016 to 2017, where it lasted more than a year and a half. Due to this prolonged drought, there were severe crop failures with food and water shortages, and farmers would have to travel outside of their communities to find water resources. And although it was over 40 years ago, the drought in 1982 was another historic drought as it was the longest dry period in the history of Sri Lanka. There were energy shortages as over 40% of the power in Sri Lanka is generated by hydroelectric resources. And this right here is an image of Sri Lanka during a drought period, and you can see that the soil is lacking all the moisture, which is not going to be good for aquaculture. And then down here, these red areas are areas that are experiencing major drought. And if we look at the years that Sri Lanka has experienced drought, you can see that they're pretty sporadic in between years. But as we get in early 20, or I guess in the 2010s and then the early 2020s, they're becoming closer together as a result of climate change.